my name is Charlotte and I'm going to show you how I make beads for my SugarPea designs. I use a oxygen propane torch and I use glass from Murano, Italy. It's called a Fretra, and it is made in Italy in the factories over there in Murano and shipped over here. It comes in pencil-sized sticks. Okay, I'm going to light it up here. First start with my propane and then add my oxygen till I get the flame the size I want it. And today I'm going to make a red, white, and blue bead. I'm feeling a little patriotic. We just had the Medal of Honor winner here in Santa Fe in a parade a couple weeks ago, and he's one of, I think, only 2 living Medal of Honor winners. So I'm feeling that I want to kind of honor him and do something a little patriotic. So I choose red, white, and blue today. I'm going to start with my mandrel, which I need to heat up in the flame so that the bead release is glowing, so the glass will not stick. I need to slowly heat up the glass in the flame so that it won't shatter. And once it's soft enough, I'll start placing it on the mandrel. I'm starting with a white today, and white is I think the softest of the glass. It gets a little watery, so you have to work a little different than this with this color than other colors. Each color glass also contains different minerals, which is one of the things I find very fascinating about glass. And the minerals react in different ways to the heat, and they react in different ways to different glass. So sometimes when you place one color next to or on top of another color, you get a whole different look. You get reactions. You get different colors depending on what you put next to the other glass. I'm starting off with kind of a disc today. There's many different ways to start off your glass bead. I am making a disc, and then I will melt it all in so that it becomes a round bead. And then twirl, twirl, twirl as it melts. I have on my Didinium glasses, and they protect my eyes from possible shattering glass, and they protect my eyes from the heat of the flame. And they also help me to see the details of what I'm doing. On the video here, you may be seeing the soda flare of this glass, where I am not seeing any of that orange glow that comes off of the glass as it melts in the flame. I'm seeing the shape, I'm seeing the designs, I'm seeing the colors. I'm going to roll it on my graphite marver to make sure it's a nice even flow. I've got my base of my bead here. I think I'm pretty happy with the size there and the shape there. It's not completely round. I could make it that way if I wanted to. I'm going to take a stringer, and this will melt very fast, so I just want the tip to melt. And I'm going to place some dots so I can start my design. I let the flame of the torch melt off the glass. Now I'm using one of my favorite tools, a little Mikey, to press the glass in. And now I'm going to expand on that and put a little bit of red dots on the corners. Now you'll see a lot of beads around that are mass-produced, that are just plain beads with dots. Really easy to make, and they're really easy to copy. So I don't like to do that, but it is part of what I'm doing to give the base of the design that I want. This will all be underlying. This won't really be the design. Part of what I'm doing creates, it's like a spacer. It creates a space so when the glass flows into the other, it will be even. Now what I'm going to do is take Marina here and these are homemade Marina, and I'm going to place them on the dots. The dots will actually be an underlying color. I'll melt and then place one. Oops, that wasn't hot enough. Use my tweezers. Got to make sure the little Marina, the little teeny piece that I place on there, is warm enough to stay and catch. So I warm that up, heat it till it's glowing, and then press it in. Now I don't want this to pop off, so I'm going to just tap it to make sure it's got a nice secure connection there. I have another red, white, and blue Marina. I'm making another section of the bead nice and soft, but not gooey. Again, I'm going to tap it just to make sure it doesn't pop off. Now I've got one more I'm going to put on. So I'm keeping the bead warm. See, it looks like little bumps, little dots, and that's just the basis of what I'm doing. So heat that up, press it in, there we go. And now I'm going to tap it a little bit and keep it spinning. This is a technique that I've been working on for about a year, trying to come up with some designs and some techniques that are different, that can't be mass-produced, that not everyone is doing. I learned some of these techniques at the International Society of Glass Bead Artists convention called The Gathering. There were some other techniques that I learned from an instructor of mine in North Carolina, as well as an instructor of mine in Holland. So I try and take a little bit of what everyone teaches me and then expand upon it and create something unique. I also wanted to make sure I created some work that can't be mass-produced, that nobody else is doing, you know, and that people would be interested in seeing. So I've got my little Marina in there, and on the little spacer dots I put in, I'm going to add a little bit more detail. So once I melt it all in, it'll give it a real uniqueness. So it looks kind of funny, all bumpy, and the key is to melt all those bumps in so you have an inlay design. And it's a little tricky because each color glass has a little bit different amount of stiffness, and so it doesn't always want to melt in quite the same. So you have to push it and play with it a little bit so that it ends up looking like you want it to look. I usually twirl my bead underneath the flame If I have it too long in the flame, it'll become misshapen, and I need to have just enough heat to make the glass do what I want it to do. I'll roll it a little bit on my marver to make sure the size is even. Take it back in the flame. Now I'm ready to play a little bit more with this design. So I'm going to just soften up a section of the bead. I don't want it all to get soft, just that little section so I can play with it. So I'll push, and then once that cools off, the stringer that I put in there will break right off. And I don't want it too far out of the flame because I don't want the bead to crack. So I have to be a little careful with that. Now, the design is put in there, but it's a little bumpy yet. You've got a lot of ridges from the new color that I introduced and from the twisting. So I want to melt that in. The longer you leave it in the flame, it will change the color a little bit. When you bring it out of the flame and put it back in and bring it out and put it back in, the colors tend to have a different reaction. So even if you try to do the same bead, you're never going to get the exact same color, the exact same bead. Which is really nice because everything is very unique. And I like to work really loose. I'm not really a fan of extremely geometric designs. While I use geometric placement, I really like the look to be very soft and flowing and unique. And anytime I roll it on the marver, I want to take it back in the flame and just they call it flame polishing, but to make sure there aren't any chill marks on the bead from when you were rolling it on the graphite marver. I think this bead is ready for the kiln, so I'll go put it in the kiln, let it sit for at least an hour at 960 degrees, and that'll make it stable.